You heard Pauline Hanson just before saying mass immigration was a huge issue that helped to explain her big jump in the polls. Now, Labor isn't doing much to cut this massive immigration, historically high over the last few years, and the Liberals claim they will, but still haven't said how or what or announced exactly what big cuts they intend to make. Now, when big parties don't deal with mass immigration, smaller parties, and not just One Nation, they will fill that void. And most worrying at the moment is that neo-Nazis, scum, are filling that vacuum created by Labor and the Liberals. They're even talking now about forming a political party of their own. And, you know, people demanding, oh, they better be banned. Well, look, sorry, that's not just anti-democratic, but it's dumb because it's likely to create an even bigger backlash. Now, cutting mass immigration, when it is causing such tension and hardship, like a housing shortage, is actually, it becomes the duty of a responsible party to do something about it, right? And in Britain, even the Labor government there is now finally getting tough on illegal immigration especially. It's now saying asylum seekers will have to wait 20 years before they can get citizenship, and refugees will have to go home in the meantime if their countries are deemed safe. More people will be deported. So here is Britain's Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood. And remember, she is Labor.
It is important that we deal with illegal migration into this country. It is an issue that is dividing our country, and I see this polarisation all over the country, including in my own constituency. We have a system that is out of control, it's unfair, and it's putting huge pressure on communities. So it is important that we restore order and control to this system so that we can retain public permission and public confidence in having an asylum system at all.
Joining me from London is writer, broadcaster, commentator Esther Krakue. Esther, great to see you again. Why has your Labor government seen the light? Is it all just because Nigel Farage and his anti-immigration reform party way ahead in the polls?
I think so. And I think reform are so ahead in the polls that it's basically calcified. It's now a given that reform is somewhere double in the polls at any given moment with where Labour and Conservatives are. Sometimes even combined, they are still leading in the polls over both the two major parties. But listen, I will see it. I'll believe it when I see it when it comes to the Labour Party. Shabana Mahmood was always supposed to be Keir Starmer's hard line on immigration, and she has decided to use Denmark as the model for hardline immigration for a reason, because actually it's Denmark's left-wing party that's brought in these strict, almost anti-asylum laws, you know, deeming countries safe. So asylum is not a permanent state of affairs. Asylum is basically like lending your couch to a friend until they can find a place to stay. So kind of reconfiguring our relationship with asylum in the first place. She's also going to announce a visa ban, apparently, on countries that refuse to take back failed asylum seekers, which could be a complete game changer. The problem is which countries will be on that list is another question. One of the major countries that we see a lot of asylum seekers come from are places like Afghanistan and Sudan. We don't have a returns agreement with Afghanistan. Germany has that and has started sending people back, but the UK, apparently that's too much for our middle class left-wing liberals in the cities. So we'll have to see if she's successful there. But look, Labour is learning that the whole immigration debate, legal and illegal, is extremely toxic, extremely radioactive, and it's just completely unfair. I mean, the amount of taxes that we pay in Britain to see people coming off a boat, getting put up in a hotel, being given a stipend every week, a mobile phone, getting dental and healthcare, being sent to school, and all these privileges that people have had to pay taxes for generations, and the fact that their own children are not even benefiting to the degree that these asylum seekers are, is completely obscene, and it's deeply offensive. So, you know, other than the fact that it's clearly losing Labour a lot of votes, it's just completely unfair. You're seeing neighborhoods literally being filled up with strange men from God knows where in housing units. You see dozens of men in one house at the end of a street that's not being policed by anyone. You see them linger around schools. You see in the case of the Bell Hotel in Epping, one of those asylum seekers from I believe it was Ethiopia, he sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl. It's just not acceptable anymore. And it's not just the fact that you have people gaming the system. Why are communities being expected to take in waves of predominantly fighting age men from countries and cultures that we know are not particularly friendly to women's rights? These are not people that respect our laws, because if they did, they wouldn't come into the country on a dinghy, which is an illegal way to enter the country, by the way. So the whole thing has just become ridiculous, and it's just got to a tipping point where we're sick of seeing story after story every single day of an asylum seeker stabbed someone, or an asylum seeker, sexually assaulted someone, or an asylum seeker has been given a BMW. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It's such a con. These people get so many getting benefits that British taxpayers don't get, and the British taxpayers have to pay for it. And when you say men of fighting age, those dinghies are more than not filled with young men rather than women and children who, if they're genuine refugees fleeing genuine danger, you would think women and children first. They're not. They're not. It's a con. But Esther, to something else, I've said many times, global warming, the global warming scare is actually more dangerous to people than global warming itself. And you've provided him from Britain another example, a government report saying fear of global warming could turn people to drugs to ease the fear, the pain. And I actually think this could be true, Esther.
Oh, yes. Apparently, this report has been citing anxiety and panic attacks and people having to use drugs to be able to cope. I mean, it's absolutely preposterous that at the most prosperous time in human history, you have people having to turn to drugs because they're so scared of the climate change gods. This just shows a failure in our education system. The fact that the world's most infamous truant, Greta Thunberg, has been able to get a foothold in our generation and basically torpedo their mental health in this way, it's just an indictment to the fact that this whole movement has gone too far. There is no rational discussion or rational debate. No one is grateful for the things that we have, or for running water, or for constant electricity. Now we just have young, whingy people who are living in the best time in history talking about having to take drugs to deal with their climate anxiety. Can you believe it?
Well, I can, because we have had young women say that they can't actually justify bringing children into this world when the planet's about to, burn them to a crisp or something. It's extraordinary.
It's absolutely incredible, and it's completely detached from reality. I mean, but you see these kind of psychotic movements all the time where you can see the mentally unwell just congregate. Some women are not having children because they don't want to have children in Trump's America. Some people are not having children because they can't put them on a vegan diet without repercussions. Some women are not having kids because of climate anxiety. There will always be a reason for these people to not have kids, even though realistically
Esther,
they don't want kids to begin with.
Crazy times. Esther Krakue, thank you so much for your time.